Okay, here we go. Tanchikiawa, hello, how are you all? Welcome to Homelands, originally broadcast on CFCR Community Radio, 90.5 FM in Saskatoon, Homelands of the Métis and Treaty 6 territories, CFCR.ca. This is your favorite auntie, Andrea Letting Dishni Kashoon. My name is Andrea Letting. Call me Auntie Andy if you like, and I'll be your host over this next half hour. I am part settler, part relative, and 100% ally and relation to everyone. I'm just me. I'm not a card-carrying member of any Indigenous nation, but I am loved, adopted, related to, and accepted by many, rejected by a few, but haters gonna hate, relators gonna relate. I am blessed to have Indigenous relations in my family and secretly may love them a little bit more than all the rest, only because they're the first peoples of this land who've welcomed all the guests. I'm also have Irish and Scandinavian, along with a little bit of mystery, and that's the way I was raised, strongly anti-colonial and justice-oriented, with a big related heart for all. So I most empathized with my Batoche Métis friends and family and that history and culture growing up. And as an adult, have continued to try to live that Mi'kmaq, that beautiful good life. So from the fringes of the sash, I situate myself as a relative and an ally and welcome you, my listeners, as brothers, sisters, nieces, nephews, cousins in the homeland. So let's welcome our relative tonight. So we've got Rueben Martell with us, and he's going to just introduce himself and tell us a little bit more about him. Yeah, so go ahead, Rueben.
Okay, my name is Rueben Martell. I've worked since I believe it's 16. I was going to paved arts in Saskatoon, which now turned to well, no, it was Video Verity at the time, turned to paved arts. I was volunteering for anything to get like editing time, screen time. Got into the magazine world. Then I jumped into production assistant with Big Soul Productions, which went from PA to assistant director, and got on to writing a bunch of different things, did some director's training for Corner Gas, and then voila, here we are.
So, and what's your background? Where are you from?
Oh, sorry. I'm Cree from Water and Lake First Nation, which is north.
Yeah, right on. And yeah, so were you always interested in film and that kind of thing? And
yeah, I mean, it was weird because like it was something as even as like a 5-year-old kid directing like little music videos with the action figures. Like I didn't think it was possible. Like I didn't think it was a venue for Native people. Like in terms of growing up, like I was seeing like ideas of what entitlement was, I guess you would say, and it wasn't in my it wasn't in my flow of things to do. You know, like growing up in the 80s, like you know, it was a weird psychological thing where you wanted to grow up to be pale and blonde hair, and you just think, where did that come from? Because they were always the ones put to the front of the line or considered for things, and it was just a weird psychology at that time. So I think it was something that was always there. It kind of remained there till I was 16 when I seen this posting about screenwriting, learn screenwriting, and it was just, I didn't think it was possible for me to that time because like it was just growing up unreserved and not really pre-internet, pre-knowledge open everywhere. It was just things that you weren't aware of, and that's where I just kind of got out and was like, okay, this is actually open to us, but it's going to be a hard journey, and it kind of was, still is. Sorry.
yeah, no, tell us more about that. Like, what are some of the challenges that you faced, right, as an Indigenous and trying to like kind of get some screen time, get your foot in the door kind of thing?
I think it mainly was like the idea that people weren't working hard enough, like people weren't earning their spot. So it was just about being persistent, and kind of like trying to get into the doorway. And there was a lot of people in crew that were accepting. They were like, hey man, you should come jump on here. And majority of the time it was, well, we need this, like it wasn't like now where people need to hire like they're not hiring just anybody. It's kind of like a producer's kid or somebody that had just a little bit of push in there. But yeah, I guess the one story I can kind of like, once I got to the point of being a professional, was coming in. I had my coffee. I was coming into set, and this guy, I was the assistant director trainee at the time. I was basically above board, and I'm walking on set, and this guy's yelling at me, "Hey, get over here, get over here!" It's like, okay, what? So I walk to him, and he's like, "Start setting up these chairs." I'm like, "No, I gotta go." So I walk in away, and this guy grabs me. He's like, "Hey, I told you to stack those chairs," and I'm like, "No, I don't." So his boss, like the lead locations manager, came up and it's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm telling this guy to do his job," and he's like, "His job is over there behind Video Village, running the set." And what do you think he is? So this guy just by seeing my skin, he just thought I was like a day player, kind of like just coming out to stack chairs and take out garbage and stuff. So I was like, I mean, I had the power to fire him, but I just didn't. I was like, no, this guy's gonna get fired soon enough. And then I think he got fired the next day. He was being racist on a native show, so it's not gonna last too long. But that's the same thing. I mean, it does happen, but people are more conscious of it, and it's scary. And it really is scary, like in terms of how open people are with the racism, and it being like a, a deniable thing. They can be full on racist nowadays in the age of Trump, and just say, "No, I'm not. I'm just conscientious of my environment." And it's like, "No, you're racist. It's just that, you're really not just saying it. You're just not openly saying it." And it's scary. It's like, it's scary living in a time where racism is deniable because of some political party. It's just, sorry, I tend to ramble.
No, no. I mean, I think it's a really good point, right? Like it's conversations that we need to be having. I think
Yeah.
like Trump south of the border kind of really brought that to the forefront. We've kind of seen it, kind of really proliferate and people have gotten very bold about it, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was the same thing like when we went on me and my friend Jocelyn, we went to Standing Rock, and the idea just got so, like, the idea of Trump was so crazy. Like, it was like the first thing he did was like push through the pipeline, as his first order, and then to like his history with Native people and denying that they're Native because they're a little bit paler. And these aren't any Indians that I've ever seen. He was thinking about the stereotype, and that's what, racism in a little ball is like. Man, you just, all you see is a stereotype, and that's what he was going for. Yeah, I mean, everybody's got Trump figured out. It's just them saying, like, it'd be interesting to hear one of them say, "Oh, right, he is a racist," but the but always comes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. People make excuses and justify it, right? Like they'll
Yeah.
get people down and they'll say it's not racism or whatever. And it's like, well, we have a racist society and a racist
Mhm.
structure, and it's
Yeah.
systemic, it's built right in. You don't have to even be racist to
No.
benefit from the precepts of white supremacy, right? Like because
Yeah.
yeah, it's just
Well,
built right in.
what's scary about racism is starting to delve into delusion. I mean, there was like thousands of people at the library in Texas waiting for John F. Kennedy Jr. and Donald Trump to come out of the woodwork. And the guy's been dead for like 28 years. And that's how far the delusions got. It's just, it's nuts. I'm sorry, we're kind of getting off topic here.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
want to
Well,
go?
let's get back to film. I mean, it could
Okay.
be, could be an interesting film idea, something to explore.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's talk about this project of yours. So don't say its name. Is that right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. So tell us about this.
It's a story about I guess it would go an environmental protester in her basically in her reserve gets like she gets I don't even know how to say it, like unalived, and the the local police do investigate, and they start to get a body count. I mean, it's really hard to say without giving up the
Right.
film.
Right.
It's just like, okay, so how do I say this?
So it's
I,
kind of
I
crime, kind of horror, kind of mystery.
so like a supernatural eco thriller would
Right.
probably
Okay.
be the good way to saying it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Yeah. It's so difficult because like even to this day, it's like I've been doing this. I've been doing a lot of interviews, and it just gets a little harder every time I have a conversation with somebody about the film. My thought process, and it's just hard to describe. Basically, sorry.
You've got to watch it to see it.
Yeah, you got to
Yeah.
see it. You got to watch it.
Yeah. So what about the release? Tell us about that. Like, is theaters near you? Is it like on Amazon Prime? Like, how can people watch it?
Oh, it's on iTunes. It's all other pay-per-view platforms. But we're also having a showing in Saskatoon, November 27th,
Okay.
and we're gonna do a Q&A with me, lead actor Sarah Lise MacArthur, and our protester Sheena Kane. So hopefully I can see some people if they have any questions about the film. Like, I'm people know me. I'm always willing to answer absolutely any question at all. Actually, it was weird because I got a 3 or 4 emails yesterday. And it was released yesterday, the movie, and I got some people asking me these questions about. There's a scene in a parking lot where a native female defends herself, and I got these questions about me perpetuating violence of women against men, and it wasn't. It was a scene where she's protecting herself from like a racist, misogynistic guy, like that's really overstepping his boundaries, like really overstepping his boundaries, and people really took people were really offended by it, and they didn't look at the fact that the guy was being racist or misogynistic, or it's just they just took they just looked at the fact that he got hit for his behavior. I was just like, this is the world we live in. You know what I mean? Like if a woman defending herself is seen as
Aggression against
bad,
girls. Yeah.
yeah, it's like, what are you talking about? Like in my mind, men should always defend women. I mean, there is a time when conversation needs to come up, and if anything gets physical, it's best to walk away. Like, just get away from that if you're being attacked. But I feel that for a person to like look at the film and see a woman defending herself and taking like being insulted by it, that's just cuckoo. So I just yeah, sorry, I kind of go on these,
Yeah,
this is
no,
the reason
totally.
why
That's
I
but
kind
that's
of
like
go on
that's
these
male.
tangents.
It's like male fragility, right? Where it's like,
Yeah, and it's
yeah,
like that. Oh man, it bugs me because like I read a lot of reviews and I kind of like go over everything, and I shouldn't because it kind of affects my mind.
yeah.
But the idea that he took offense to that was just so mind blowing. It still is to this day. I thought I dreamt it, and then I was like, no, I didn't. That guy really exists. That the guy that's so fragile and so sensitive about a guy who's attacking a woman,
Yeah.
getting hit, and
Yeah.
there's just like,
Well, there's this
sorry.
attitude, right, that men are entitled enough to be able to do whatever they want, particularly to Indigenous women, and they're just supposed to
Mhm.
take it, right? So that's kind of
Yeah,
more
it's
so what.
and it's
Yeah.
it's weird because like there's a point where like in Cree culture, like where women made decisions and we just hunted and gathered. Like there's moose hunters and berry pickers, and they both did their thing,
Yeah.
and women just ruled the home. Like like from what my mother tells me, my grandfather did the hunting and cooking and cleaning. So
Yeah.
that was something that he took care of, and everybody, and they made decisions. It wasn't a hierarchy. It was just the way things flowed.
Yeah.
It's like keeping everything in tune. And I don't understand this toxic masculinity. It just, like, I mean, I might have in my teens been guilty of it, but nowadays it just seems like, and like just weird. But also the other weird observation is that it seems that there's more domestic violence nowadays.
Mm.
Like the more people become aware within the 90s that it was utterly horrible. I mean, even the 80s it was utterly horrible.
Mhm.
90s, it was, oh man, like we got to do something about this. And now it's like 2020 and it's worse.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy, right? I don't know if there's more awareness of it, like, but Saskatchewan has incredibly high rates
Mhm.
of domestic violence as well as murder per capita, right? Like we're
Exactly.
capital of bad stats, for
Yeah,
the country.
and it bothers you because as even as a native society, like we're not meant to hurt our family. We're meant to protect it at all costs, and to see it and to kind of like vocalize it. It's weird that not that many people are vocal about it. They're
Mhm.
more silent about it, and
Yeah.
that's just like the worst possible thing, especially with domestic violence. I mean, there are times when the victim does have to move forward because there is so much warning, and people can say, well, this is a bad situation for you, but they have to get through that situation. Like for personal experience, like they don't move forward until they're willing to move forward,
Yeah.
and it's a really hard thing.
Yeah.
Sorry, I kind of go on these
Yeah, no, it's
tangents.
an interesting tangent, right? Like it's a
Uh-huh.
societal thing. And it's interesting that the film has brought that up. Yeah, tell us more about like where did you shoot the film and where did the idea for it come from?
It was we shot in Bear Creek, Alberta. Like the Saskatchewan doesn't have a tax credit anymore, and I can't create in Saskatchewan. So it was a thing where I kind of had to go to an alien land and kind of like film over there because I never, I don't, I worked maybe one Alberta production before and never again. Like most of the stuff was in Saskatchewan or Ontario. Uh, but the idea originally came from an experience I had as a younger guy, and it's weird to talk about now. Like the more I talk about it, it was weird because it was just I was going to a sweat lodge and having met somebody that was I guess embodied the spirit from the film and made like just totally made the sweat cold. And it was a weird situation, and it was shared by like 20 or 30 people. Um, yeah, it was just mind blowing. But as a native person, like knowing that there is a spiritual world beyond anything that we're surrounded by. There's more to this world than just us. I mean, it just kind of shows the ego as well, right? Like, no, we master this land, and no, there's more to the land than anything. I mean, look at BC right now. I'm thinking that Mother Earth is pissed off at those loggers and let's cut their transportation, But a lot of people are suffering at this time, but it just seems in my mind, in my native mind, that's kind of like what I see is that Mother Earth is pissed off at our uh, our elders getting cut down.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's a factor of right the clear cutting and the building unsustainable infrastructure
Mhm.
and the yeah just everything that we've done as well as the I mean obviously climate change too, right?
Yeah, yeah,
The forest fires that and yeah just everything it's all it's kind of coming to a head, right? And I mean this is affecting the supply, right? Like in terms of being able to
yeah,
get food places and transport goods and all of that, right? But it's like hold on, this is a sign, everybody do
yeah.
something.
They don't see it though. They don't see it. I mean,
No.
Jesus can give them a phone call, but they're gonna believe who's calling,
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
The other thing too is like with Wet'sun, I
Yep.
can't remember
Yep.
they
What's
sent,
yeah. What's
yeah, they closed down BC, the entire BC, and what they do is they send 30 tactical police officers there yesterday
yeah.
to silence native people, and it's just like
Yeah, the
this is
roads have
very,
collapsed. Nobody can help them. And instead of the RCMP helping with the chaos being unleashed on the mainland and the lower
yeah,
mainland and the highways, they fly them all in to suppress, protesters. It's
yeah,
crazy.
it's
Yeah.
dumb, and it's peaceful protesters.
Yeah.
The weird, it just reminds me of Oka. It's like where it's a golf course. Give up on it. No, let's send in more troops than we have sent to Iraq to this reserve.
Yeah. No, it's
Medium. That's Canada, man. It's like that's the Canada I know, and that's the one tough thing about like talking about the film. It's like this is it's almost not even a horror film. Like to me, it's not. It's almost like a personal experience. It's just that unbelievable that it's believable. In Canada, it just wants to catch up to the States in terms of that. It's just the racism is totally nuts.
yeah, yeah. It's I know it's pretty horrific, right? And I think there's I kind of hope, that there's growing awareness, right? Like, the residential schools that, in June with Kamloops, and then, it's been in the media more, but there's still people that deny it, right? Or
Oh
justify it,
yeah.
or say, oh, it was just tuberculosis,
Mhm.
so yeah, I don't know. What do you hope people come away from the film with? What kind of like
I hope they come away with thoughts about the murder of missing Indigenous women. About I think I just want them to create their own, like just kind of like get inside their head a little bit and kind of like this is what Canada is. Like I want people to like basically what I wanted to accomplish with the film is being able to make a film that's not, I guess, quote unquote trauma porn, like where I didn't want people to watch it and feel bad about themselves. Like I don't want people to watch my film and feel bad. I want them to think, but I don't want them to feel bad about where they're from or who they are or what their skin color is. Like I wanted to make an entertaining film that made you think, and in some weird ways, that's not necessarily the goal of a horror film. To make people think. It's like, my God, I never thought about that. But that was kind of what the challenge was and what I was trying to accomplish. Hopefully, I accomplished it. Some people said I have. Some people said I haven't. But it's just to get people thinking, like beyond skin color and beyond their whatever the limits of their mind are. Like just kind of push those walls a little bit further, because like we do really need to start getting along in terms of everything that's happening around us. It's yeah. Sorry.
right on? So kind of just like in the last couple minutes, what kind of advice do you have for like up and coming, maybe youth that are interested in getting into the industry and doing that kind of
Mhm.
contemporary storytelling? Really is what it is, right? Like it's taking
Yeah.
the old Indigenous oral storytelling traditions and like putting it on screen. So
Mhm.
maybe talk a little bit more about that, some of the options that they might have, some of the paths they might follow.
Right now, Imaginative has they do have, like, you go onto imaginative.ca, I believe, or .com. They have I don't know, a grant or a contest for screenwriters, and I get a lot of people come up to me saying, "Hey, man, I got a great film, I get an idea for a film," and I'm like, maybe write it, man, because that's the thing people don't realize is that filmmakers are always coming up with their own ideas, and they spend 2 3 years developing something and they don't have time. Like it's not to insult anybody, but they don't have time to hear a pitch because they're busy pitching their idea to other people. I would say make as many short films as possible. That was my mistake. I didn't make as many short films, and get out there, because you can take 1 week, make a short film, find out the 360 rule, like find out your framing, find out just story, because a lot of the times a person will have a story and say, yeah, this would make a good film, but when you have to really break it down, and are you willing to be married to this idea for 2 to 3 years? And if you're not, then you can't really be a screenwriter or a director, because you have to have that passion to follow it through. Like you have to have extreme amount of patience to get a film made. I'm 45 and I just got my first feature film made, and it took this long. It wasn't for not working or not trying to get out there. It's just this was the time for it to happen for me. And a lot of times it's just about getting your material out there. Like there are tons of festivals. I mean, if anybody needs advice or anything, that's my name right there. And you can send me a message and I can try guide you as much as I can. I can't really push you. I can guide you. You have to make your own way through that journey. But I'd say always be passionate about your story, because nobody's going to care about your story more than you do, and you're the leader on that story. You have to keep on pushing it, and then learning the the technical part of filmmaking. Just like 3 or 4 things that you need to learn. Go out there and shoot it. That's it. There's for me, it was finding a story that was more commercial and getting it out there, and it was a tough sell, but it's just about being persistent and being consistent on moving forward with what you want to do, because you can't be a weekend filmmaker. You can't just do it on weekends, and it's got to consume your mind and everything you do. I mean, everybody, like, I consume maybe 2-3 films a day, and it's not because I need to, it's because I want to. And I've been like that since I was a kid. It's like watch movies. And the one thing that I always tell people is you can learn more from a bad movie. You can see the mistakes, and that's what you learn from. You learn from the horrible stuff, and that's why I love watching bad movies. I'm kind of hoping that in the future, somebody watches my film and says I can do that better, and they do it, and I'd be like, like, that's the thing. It's like you need to put out the examples of what films you're making, and then hopefully the next wave of kids make it even better. Like that's all you can really hope for. It's not about, after a while, it's not about competing. It's just about giving them that little push so that they get on with their journey.
That's awesome. Yeah. And with the technology out there, like, I mean, people can, they can make little films even with their phones, right? Like,
yeah. It's just about coverage and wide shots and what have you. But it's also about writing a good story. Like the one thing that people fail to stop and do anymore, and it's like they're not really reading books. They don't have an idea of what the format is. They just kind of go out and shoot, and hopefully it's funny, and sometimes it's not. I mean, it's kind of like in terms of TikTok, where they shoot some things, and some things are funny and some things are really aren't. And then one time it's like it's just something that goes viral that's kind of funny, but it's about story. Like at the end of the day, you want to write an amazing story, and the challenge is just filming it to the best of your ability. That's
great advice.
Simple.
Well, thank you so much. The time just flew, Rueben. So Kishi Marcy to our relative tonight, Rueben Martell, talking about his new feature film, Don't Say Its Name. Go watch it. He will be at the Roxy on the 27th of November for a Q&A after the viewing. Ni Wagamaganak, all my relations, and believe me, we are all related, so act like you got relations. This is Auntie Andy signing out from Homelands, originally produced on CFCR Community Radio 90.5 FM in Saskatoon, Homelands of the Métis and Treaty 6 Territory, cfcr.ca. Follow us on Twitter at Métis Homelands, email métishomelands@gmail.com, and you'll be able to view this on our YouTube channel, so subscribe today. Marcy, thank you for listening, and Akushi Kawapa Matina Mina, that's all. We'll see you later.